There is a town just outside San Francisco where the dead outnumber the living by nearly 1,000 to 1. Not a ghost story, not an abandoned place. A real town with streets, homes, and about 1,500 residents going about their lives. And yet, beneath and around them lie over 1 million graves, spread across rows and rows of cemeteries that take up almost the entire landscape. And that's just the beginning, because the towns we're about to talk about don't have a diner on Main Street. Some of them don't have a Main Street. Some of them barely have people. One of them is literally on fire. One of them has a population of 1. One of them is an entire city where everybody, and I mean everybody, that lives in the same building stick around, because these are the kinds of places that make you question what the word normal even means. We're starting with the one that sounds the most like something out of a horror movie, because it kind of is. Centralia, Pennsylvania used to be a pretty normal coal mining town. About 2,500 people at its peak in the 1890s. Mines, churches, a main street, the whole thing. By 1960, the population had thinned out a bit, down to around 1,400. But Centralia was still a real functioning community. And then, in May of 1962, the town's volunteer fire department did something they'd done many times before. They set the local landfill on fire to burn the trash before Memorial Day. It was a normal thing. They'd done it in previous years without any problem, except this time there was an unsealed opening at the bottom of the trash pit, an opening that connected directly to the labyrinth of abandoned coal mines running underneath the entire town. The fire found that opening, it went underground, and it has been burning there, in those tunnels, every single day since 1962. Let that sink in. The ground beneath Centralia has been on fire for over 60 years. Temperatures in some areas underground have reached over 900 degrees Fahrenheit. The roads crack open and vent smoke. Sinkholes appear without warning. Carbon monoxide seeps up through the soil. In 1981, a 12-year-old boy was walking through his grandmother's backyard when the ground suddenly collapsed beneath him. He grabbed onto a tree root and hung there, over a smoking pit, until his cousin pulled him out. The government eventually bought out almost everyone's property and demolished the building. The zip code was revoked. By 2017, fewer than 10 people remained. A handful of stubborn, elderly holdouts who won the legal right to stay as long as they lived. Today, Centralia is mostly just empty blocks where houses used to be, streets going nowhere. The odd surviving church still standing against a backdrop of nothing. The old highway through town, Route 61, was permanently closed because the asphalt kept cracking and buckling from the heat. It's now covered in graffiti and wisps of smoke rising from fissures in the pavement. Geologists say the fire could burn for another century, maybe longer. The coal seam beneath Centralia is thick and deep, and nobody has ever figured out a cost-effective way to put it out. It is, by expert consensus, essentially impossible to stop. Can you imagine how weird that is? Centralia inspired the setting for the video game and film Silent Hill, which, when you stand in the middle of that empty town and watch smoke curl up through the asphalt while the ground beneath you is literally smoldering, makes complete sense. If that completely blew your mind, then watch out for this next town. Right. So, you know how every town has a mayor, a city council, a librarian, a bartender? What if one person did all of those jobs? What if one person was the only person in the whole town? That's Monowai, Nebraska, and that person is Elsie Eiler. Elsie is in her early 90s. She has lived in Monowai her entire life, watched the town slowly empty out as the railroad shut down and young people left for bigger cities, and when her husband Rudy died in 2004, she became, officially, the sole resident of an incorporated municipality, the only one in the United States. Because Monowai is still legally incorporated as a village, it still requires a functioning government. So Elsie holds every office. She is the mayor, she is the town clerk, she is the town treasurer, she is the town secretary. Every year she applies for a liquor license, which she signs herself as mayor, and then grants it to herself as the bar owner. She submits an annual municipal road plan to the state to maintain funding for the town's 4 streetlights. She pays taxes to herself. Her bar, the Monowai Tavern, is open 6 days a week, 9 in the morning until 9 at night. She makes the burgers herself, pours the beers herself, does the dishes herself. Local farmers come by. Tourists make pilgrimages from across the country and around the world. Elsie's guest book has signatures from all 50 states and more than 60 countries. She also runs the town library, a small building filled with about 5,000 books that belong to her late husband, Rudy, who was an avid reader. The library operates on the honor system. She opened it in 2005, the year after he died, as a tribute to him. Around the tavern and the library, Monowai's past lingers in ruins. An abandoned church, a crumbling grain elevator, empty homes, small collapsing. In the 1930s, 150 people lived here. Now it's healthy. The bugs, the regulars who drive from miles away to have lunch, and the sign on Highway 12 that reads, simply, Monoweek. One, she knows what happens when she's gone. Monoweek goes with her. If I let myself sit and think about it, she said, I feel sad that the time is going to come that I can't begin there. But for now, she opens the bar at 9. She makes the coffee. She runs the town, and she keeps going because somebody has to. Now get ready, because this next town is even crazier. Imagine you need to go to the grocery store. You take an elevator. You need to see a doctor. You walk down the hall. Your kid goes to school. It's connected to your building by an underground tunnel. You want to go to church? Basement. Your neighbor is the mayor. She's 2 floors up. This is not a thought experiment. This is Tuesday in Whittier, Alaska. Whittier has about 272 residents, and almost all of them live in a single 14-story concrete building called Baggage Towers. The grocery store is in there. The police station is in there. Literally a one-room office in the lobby. The post office is in there. There's a church in the basement. There's a bed and breakfast on the top 2 floors. The school is a separate building, but it's connected to the tower by an underground tunnel so that kids never have to go outside in bad weather, which in Whittier is most of the time. Whittier was built by the U.S. Army during World War II as a secret military supply port. It sits on a bay surrounded by mountains, glacier-fed, and brutally beautiful, and the Army constructed these massive concrete towers to house troops and their families. When the military pulled out in the 1960s, some civilians decided to stay. They purchased the towers, turned them into condominiums, and just kept living there. Getting to Whittier requires driving through the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, a 2.5-mile, one-lane tunnel bored through solid rock beneath a mountain. At any given time, traffic only flows one direction through it. At night, the tunnel closes entirely. So after about 10:30 p.m., Whittier is cut off from the road system completely. If there's a medical emergency at midnight, you're going by helicopter or boat. The weather is extraordinary, even by Alaskan standards. Whittier receives an average of 197 inches of precipitation per year, making it one of the wettest places in the United States. In winter, winds regularly hit 80 miles per hour. For months at a time, residents simply don't go outside. And yet, when you talk to the people who live there, the response is almost uniformly, I love it here. It's just home, says one longtime resident. For the most part, you know everybody. It's a community under one roof. We have everything